We are often deceived by appearances, for the world is skilled in wearing masks. Smiles may hide envy, praise may cloak malice, and companionship may conceal betrayal. Yet God, in His mercy, is not content to let us live forever in illusions. Truth is not a treasure buried too deep to be found. It is a light that waits to break through the cracks of darkness. When God becomes the compass of your life, that light has no rival. The illusions that others may craft, the polished words, the feigned loyalty, the borrowed sincerity, can endure for a season, but not for eternity. Sooner or later, what is false cannot endure the weight of God's truth. It collapses, and when it does, you are not left in despair, but in clarity. What once looked like strength reveals its weakness. What once sounded like loyalty echoes as betrayal, and what once seemed unshakable falls apart like sand beneath your feet. It may sting to see the deception, but it is better to see clearly than to stumble blindly. God does not allow falsehood to rule your path without eventually uncovering it. He is not a God who delights in your naivety or ignorance. Instead, He is a Father who desires that your trust be placed where it will not be wasted. He lets the masks fall, not because He takes pleasure in your disappointment, but because He knows that your soul was never meant to live on lies. Deception drains you, but truth frees you. The unveiling of the false is not an accident of life. It is the intentional work of God, guiding you to a safer, purer, and more honest ground. When people show themselves to be less than what they pretended, it is natural to feel hurt, even betrayed. But hidden in that pain is a blessing. For had they remained in disguise, you might have built your hopes on hollow ground. God intervenes by letting truth surface, not when you wish, but when you need it most. He knows the dangers of misplaced trust, and He rescues you by opening your eyes. What you once thought was loss becomes protection. What you once called rejection becomes redirection. The unmasking is not a curse. It is a safeguard. And notice this: truth does not always surface by your effort. You may try to discern, to test, to guard yourself against deceit, but there are disguises so skillfully worn that only God Himself can tear them away. When He does, it is undeniable. A sudden word, a small act, a shift in circumstances, these are the instruments God uses to let you see what was hidden all along. It is a mercy to know sooner rather than later. It is a gift to discover that the firm grip you thought you had was never truly holding you up. So, take courage when the truth rises to the surface. Do not grieve that you were fooled for a moment. Rejoice that you are no longer fooled now. God does not permit truth to stay buried forever. When He is your guide, He will ensure that deception runs out of breath and truth stands tall. The unmasking may wound, but it will also heal. It may close doors, but it will lead you to the right ones. For truth under God's hand is never your enemy. It is always your deliverance. Exposure often feels like a wound, but in reality, it is a form of healing. When God allows the truth to come to light, it can cut deep, yet the cut is not meant to destroy. It is meant to save. There are moments when the people we trust, the relationships we build, or the paths we choose are not what they appear to be. For a time, their disguise may comfort us, but it is a comfort laced with danger. God, in His mercy, does not allow us to remain bound to what will ultimately harm us. He exposes the truth, and though it may sting at first, that sting is the evidence of His protection. We often mistake exposure for cruelty because it strips away the illusions we want to believe. We may cry out, "Why did God let me see this? Why did He allow the mask to fall?" The answer is mercy. God loves you too much to let you build your future on foundations that will crumble. He lets the false collapse so the true can stand. What looks like a loss is, in truth, a rescue. What feels like betrayal is, in reality, deliverance. The exposure may break your heart for a moment, but it saves your soul from destruction. Think of it this way. If a doctor finds an infection hidden beneath the surface, he does not cover it up with soothing words. He exposes it so it can be treated. The treatment may burn, the healing may hurt, but the pain is not cruelty, it is care. So it is with God. He uncovers what you could not see, not because he enjoys your discomfort, but because he desires your freedom. Without exposure, you would remain bound to lies. With exposure, you are set free, even if the freedom comes through fire. And remember this, God exposes at the right time, not always when you ask, not always when you expect, but always when you need it. He knows the weight your heart can carry, and he knows when you are strong enough to handle the truth. His timing is not designed to embarrass you, but to protect you. He reveals things in moments that will ultimately serve your good, even if those moments feel like devastation. So do not confuse God's mercy with cruelty. Cruelty leaves you broken without purpose. Mercy breaks you to build you stronger. Cruelty mocks your pain. Mercy uses your pain to refine you. Cruelty blinds you to despair. Mercy opens your eyes to hope. When God exposes, he is not shaming you. He is saving you. Therefore, receive exposure not as a punishment, but as a gift. Let the truth that once hurt become the truth that heals. Let the light that once blinded become the light that guides. For when God removes the mask of deception, he is not stripping you of love, he is protecting you with it. Exposure is never cruelty in his hands, it is always mercy. Betrayal is one of the sharpest pains the heart can endure. It is not the wound of an enemy that pierces most deeply, but the wound of a friend, a confidant, someone you once believed would stand beside you. Yet as cutting as it may feel, betrayal does not have the power to define who you are unless you allow it. In the hands of God, betrayal becomes not a prison, but a furnace. It burns, yes, but it also purifies. It strips away illusions, melts down pride, and reveals what is strong enough to last. Betrayal, when surrendered to God, refines you into something stronger, wiser, and truer than before. At first, betrayal feels like destruction. Your trust feels shattered, your heart feels torn, and your confidence in others, perhaps even in yourself, feels shaken. But God does not let pain pass through your life without purpose. He transforms wounds into wisdom, loss into clarity, and disappointment into strength. The betrayal you suffered does not label you as weak or foolish. Rather, it becomes the very place where your soul learns endurance. Through it, you discover the limits of human loyalty and the boundless sufficiency of divine faithfulness. Consider gold tested in fire. It does not lose value in the flames. It gains purity. Impurities are burned away so that what remains is more precious, more brilliant, more enduring. In the same way, betrayal removes from your life what was false, shallow, or temporary, leaving behind a deeper dependence on what is true and eternal. You emerge from the fire not diminished, but strengthened. The wound that once seemed to weaken you actually becomes the proof that you can endure what you once thought impossible. It is important, then, not to let betrayal define your identity. You are not the sum of the lies told about you, the promises broken against you, or the friendships that dissolved under pressure. You are more than the failures of others. To let betrayal define you is to hand your future over to the very people who harmed you. But to let betrayal refine you is to reclaim your future, allowing God to use what was meant for harm to forge resilience, discernment, and depth within you. Even Christ himself was betrayed, not by a distant enemy, but by one who ate at his table. Yet the betrayal did not define his mission. It only revealed the glory that was already his. If the Son of God endured betrayal and turned it into the very path of redemption, then surely betrayal in your life, though painful, can also serve a purpose far greater than your suffering. So take heart, betrayal is not your ending. It is your refining. It does not make you less. It prepares you to be more. It does not declare your weakness. It uncovers your strength. And while it may change the way you see people, it also deepens the way you trust God. Let betrayal teach you, shape you, and purify you, but never let it define you. For in God's hands, betrayal is never the final word. It is only the tool that sharpens you for the life ahead. Life often tempts us to believe in illusions, for illusions are comfortable. They flatter us, they promise us security, and they make the world appear kinder than it truly is. We cling to people we think will never fail us, to plans we think will never falter, to dreams we think will never die. Yet illusions are fragile, and to live by them is to build on sand. God, in His love, does not permit us to remain trapped in a web of falsehood. He removes illusions not to wound us, but to restore clarity. For only in truth can the soul breathe, grow, and find its true foundation. At first, the shattering of illusions feels cruel. A friendship you thought was genuine proves shallow. A path you thought was straight twists into disappointment. A promise you thought unbreakable dissolves into silence. You may cry out, wondering why God allowed the illusion to crumble. But the breaking is not punishment, it is mercy. God tears down what was false so that you may stand on what is real. He exposes the fragile so that you may find the unshakable. The pain of disillusionment is the beginning of vision. Illusions blind us. They cause us to see people, circumstances, and even ourselves through a lens that is not true. We give trust where it is not deserved. We place hope where it cannot endure, and we anchor our hearts in shifting tides. But when God removes illusions, He restores sight. He shows us who people truly are, not to harden us into cynicism, but to teach us wisdom. He reveals which paths are hollow, not to strip us of direction, but to set us on the road that leads to life. He removes what we thought we needed, so that we may see what we truly need Him. Clarity is never easy, but it is always freeing. When the fog of illusion lifts, your heart no longer wastes itself on what is temporary or false. You learn to discern between empty words and faithful actions, between shallow appearances and true character, between fleeting comforts and lasting hope. Clarity is not merely the absence of lies. It is the presence of light, and that light allows you to walk forward without stumbling, even when the road is difficult. God's removal of illusions is not random. His timing is deliberate. He allows the mask to fall at the moment when you are ready to face the truth and strong enough to grow from it. You may not understand the timing, but you will one day see the wisdom. For every illusion broken, there is a lesson gained. For every falsehood exposed, there is a truth uncovered. For every loss endured, there is a deeper freedom found. So do not despise the breaking of illusions. It is not God robbing you. It is God rescuing you. To see clearly, though painful, is safer than to live in blindness. And though clarity may cost you comfort, it will give you strength, wisdom, and peace. God removes illusions not to leave you empty, but to anchor you in truth that cannot be shaken.